Zoning Commission's January 27, 2026 meeting to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. We're just missing Pete. Maybe he'll come in a little bit late on the weather. Item number 2, we don't have any public hearing items this evening. Item number 3, under unfinished business, we have item number 1, PZ 11/25, number 51, re-subdivision R&M Development LLC, 117 Shuttle Meadow Road. Allow for creation of a rear lot in Southington and front lot in Plainville. This public hearing is required, we were waiting written confirmation from the town of Southington that their portion of the proposed subdivision complies with their regulations. Any word, John?
We didn't receive anything. My recommendation is, because we're running against the clock, and then we'll make the next meeting that this application be denied without prejudice.
Excuse me, could you guys turn your mics on?
So sorry. Thank you.
My recommendation is that since we didn't receive anything from the town of Southington or the applicant regarding the status in Southington, that this application be denied without prejudice, because we're reaching the end of the time frame that you have to make a decision now.
I make a motion that we deny this application without prejudice.
Mayor, second?
Second.
Any further
Oh.
comment?
Okay. Can we go back, take a couple steps back, and we introduce ourselves so that the recording secretary can put a name to the face?
Sure.
Glenn Pettit.
William Ritchie.
Daniel Ryan.
Jennifer Bardis-Early.
Kurt Stevens.
Tom Fody.
I don't know where our name tags are. We apologize. They're somewhere. All right, so we had a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying, and this is for refresh our mind, you did it in the affirmative or in the?
So I did it.
To deny.
It
Okay.
without prejudice.
Okay, and that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries for denial. Item number 2, PZ01/26, number 1, site plan Tilcon Incorporated, 0 Loon Lake Road, 475 New Britain Avenue, proposed installation of permanent stone processing equipment, quarry zone.
Chris Costello, Environmental and Land Manager for Tilcon, 300 Woodford Avenue.
Josh Ierna, Safety Manager, 300 Woodford Ave.
I wanted to start out, Carolina Cavalcanti, Tilcon's president, could not be here tonight, but she would like me to read a statement from her. Dear members of the Plainville Planning and Zoning Commission, I would like to start off by saying thank you to the commission and town leaders for your effort and time you donate to the town through the Planning and Zoning Commission. It takes true leadership and perseverance to work through these processes that require diligence and careful balance. We understand there were concerns raised over a zone change application last year. We have been working with the community in good faith to address those concerns through our informational open house, our new website, and transparent dialogue. I want to assure you that this site plan application involves no major operational changes except for upgrading our portable plant to state-of-the-art equipment, which will address the concerns raised. We have been and continue to be regulated by federal and state agencies within our day-to-day operations. After legal review by our internal and external lawyers, the petition filed by Ms. Bedell makes allegations of, quote, unreasonable adverse impacts, which are not supported by substantial evidence. Case law in Connecticut is clear that the petitioner possesses an obligation to present material support for the allegations, and such support is not evident in this filed petition. Therefore, we believe we have met or exceeded all requirements for this site plan application to be approved. Yours sincerely, Carolina Cavalcanti, President.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add in addition to what you previously presented regarding the?
I do not.
Okay. And We did receive the letter. See what's in here. Regarding the intervenor status. And there is a document that can be referenced that was written by Janet P. Brooks on March 22nd of 2025, Environmental Interventions Before Municipal Land Use Agencies, Section 22A-19 of the Connecticut Environmental Protection Act. And according to this article that she wrote, the burden of proof falls on the intervenor, and the intervenor's burden is referenced in item F of that document. There also are, concerns that were raised on our ability to oversee dust control measures, et cetera, et cetera. However, there are some things regarding noise or dust control that aren't always regulated necessarily by our regulations. However, there are other layers within the state that oversee very specifically those elements. So there are dust pollution controls and standards for quarrying, which focus on minimizing worker exposures to respirable crystalline silica and managing fugitive emissions. There's standards that are set forth by OSHA. There are also mineral products. The Mineral Products Association has information very specific that should be followed due to quarries and dust. The DEP website also has regulations on dust control. And the Connecticut General Statutes Title 22A, Environmental Protection, oversees noise pollution control, air pollution control, and water pollution control. So when a commission doesn't necessarily have the specific regulations in place that lay out all of the nuances that are required by anyone that is, say, in a quarry zone quarrying, there are other layers of organizations that do have more very specific oversight. And if we don't have regulations that are very specific to follow that, we default to the statutes and we default to the other specific agencies that have, like OSHA, that have the oversight on those different areas. Because we cannot regulate every single nuance as a commission. So in light of all of those other bodies that are overseeing the operations for the quarrying, is there anything that isn't being adhered to, or could you elaborate on? I know we had like a list of questions that were, I know you gave us a whole page on noise mitigation measures, dust control plan, but there were also other concerns that were raised in the email that we received. And I didn't know, did you receive a copy of the email?
Yes, I did.
Is there anything in there relevant to these oversight bodies that you can answer any of these specific questions that are relevant?
Well, okay, I could start with number one. Reduction in airborne particulate matter. We are, like you said, regulated under MSHA, which is Mine Safety Health Association, state DEP, and we submitted a dust control plan, and we meet all regulatory requirements associated with those bodies.
I'll also add to that. So we have to conduct samples per the standards from the federal agencies, and there's governing bodies, but there's also best practices that are created by the American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists. So that's this group that continues to do the research outside of just the federal standards. We're below those best practice limits consistently, but that's just an example.
So I know there was a question we talked about last time about the screens that go, the tarps that go over the trucks. Is that only for off-site mobilization, or is that also for on-site mobilization?
For off-site mobilization.
So what measure then is in place for any dust that gets kicked up in the transport of the truck from one place to another, if there's a truck moving material on site as from the ground, as well as anything that's going to come out of the top of the truck?
Well, we use water dust suppression, and those stone in that truck will be wet. That would reduce the dust that would move.
And what about the ground?
In the ground too, we have water trucks and sweepers that run all day on site.
And who monitors that?
The site superintendent would monitor that.
Which agency from outside of your site?
So you'd capture that by a permissible exposure limit, by exposure to an employee, and so that would be MSHA, which we do that. We do that and we're below those limits.
Okay, so is there like periodic sampling that
Yep.
takes place?
Yep.
Okay. The efficiency and the volume of the new equipment, is that going to change at all, which then would relate to a change in the number of trucks that would be mobilizing off-site?
We submitted a traffic report or traffic study when we did the entrance, and that accounts for reactivation of the quarry to between 1 and 2 million tons per year. So yeah.
But no difference from the existing equipment and the proposed?
No, there'll be more with the existing or the proposed equipment, but that's been accounted for in the traffic study.
Okay, so then that speaks...
Because production will go up from...
That speaks to the increase in production.
Correct.
Okay. And are there limitations during, obviously we have had a ton of snow in this storm, so is there periods of time in the year due to demand for materials for road work? I know there's got to be temperature things due to frost heaving, et cetera, that would affect paving or operation on site. You're not going to be, it's going to be hard to be moving all of your snow to access with temperatures and et cetera. So is there going to be times during the year when the quarry will not be in operation?
Yeah, typically between December and end of March.
Okay. When was that traffic study done?
March 2023, and we submitted it with our application for the new entrance.
Okay.
That entrance was approved April 2023.
All right, so then everything was kind of wrapped together when you
Yep.
did that traffic study, not yet with anticipation that you were going to be where you are today.
Correct. The
With
whole
foresight.
new entrance was,
Okay.
for the future of the quarry.
What are your operating hours?
Typically 6 to 5. However, we will operate outside that time period. We typically run 50 to 60 hours a week.
How early would that, or how late would that go?
I'm not sure.
If I was a neighbor, I'd be ticked. I'm just saying that. I've had
Yeah.
trucks, that drive right by my house very early in the morning, in the middle of the night, and I hear them.
Mhm.
So you mean to tell me that there could be a tailgate that they hear banging at God knows what hour?
There's no tailgates in the quarry.
Not at all?
No.
Okay. But they're gonna hear the trucks going. We don't know how loud that sound travels outside the quarry, do we?
So this is purely an estimation based on some of the equipment that's in the quarry. But the decibel range would be equivalent to like I-84 if you were right up against I-84, but that's with zero obstruction. So with the fact that we have high walls and trees, that decibel rating drops quite a bit. However, that's an estimation, and I'm being conservative on the high side. but we plan to do samples that will allow us to get a better estimation.
Anything else that you would like to address that was in the email?
No, unless you have additional questions.
Any commissioners have any questions?
Yeah, just one on the hours. I understand the asphalt and the concrete plants are in the summer and spring are open 7 days a week generally, maybe not Sundays, but would the mining go on 7 days a week, or is that just Monday through Friday typically?
It's not 7 days a week. Monday through Saturday?
Monday through Friday, some Saturdays, generally speaking,
Yeah.
depending on demand.
Is it in our purview to, I know we don't have any control over the noise and the dust per se, as other organizations do, but can we limit hours in an approval?
Generally,
We do on other stuff, so I just don't know if
I
we
mean,
can on this.
you can put limits on hours. It becomes questionable from an enforcement standpoint.
Yeah, I
Because,
well, everything's.
You know, let's just say they work outside the hours and we do an enforcement action, we have to, you know, justify what the reasons were, why we have to, you know, they couldn't work outside those hours. You don't have in your regulations specific times in which somebody can do activities or not do activities. Generally speaking, it's 10 at night to 6 in the morning is usually, or 5 in the morning is usually the no noise type of time frame. But you know, generally speaking, that's a request from, you know, the police department would request that they stop making that noise. And then if it did stop, we'd have to go through an enforcement function to stop them from doing that.
So I just want to add some context to the decibels. We do sample the same frequency that we do any industrial hygiene for dust. We measure at the source of the exposure, so the highest exposure that exists at the site for decibels. And we have a hearing conservation program, and so we have those limits, but we rarely exceed 85 decibels, which is the limit. And if we do, it's directly at the source, which then drops. And so when I said and referred to I-84, our estimated operation decibel limit at the property boundaries would be the equivalent to the highway, which is open 24/7. That's what I was trying to refer, if I didn't make that clear.
So what about blasting?
What specifically about blasting?
Which
The decibels?
No, timeframes.
Like what time frame will we be blasting?
Yeah, when do you blast?
I don't know.
It's typically,
Generally, it's 11 to 4, I believe the state of Connecticut. If you want me to come up.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
probably should. Just state your name and address for the record so we can capture it.
Todd Kinnan, 300 Woodford Ave. Generally speaking, we try to blast between 11 to 4. I believe the state of Connecticut, we have until 5 o'clock. Again, that's regulated through the state fire marshal and all that. And I'm not 100% sure on the late end number, but if we have to go any later than 4 o'clock, we'll usually delay till the next day.
And is the fire marshal present how does that work?
We notify him of the blast. If he's available, he has been present this year, depending on his availability.
And do you use the same method for blasting every single time?
Yes, yep,
Is that the state fire marshal or our local fire marshal?
local fire marshal. Yep. Ron usually, yeah, yep. Yeah, we'll notify him usually a couple days before, once we have it scheduled, and if he's available, he does the ones he's been available for.
Any other commissioners have questions?
I do have a question, specifically referencing their item 10 from their email. What are you doing with any water on the site once it is filled with whatever materials it is filled with? Is it simply running off?
No, we are regulated under the industrial stormwater permit, which is run by the Connecticut DEP.
Okay.
And it doesn't, we have to sample twice a year, and then there's visual sampling quarterly, and all of that is submitted to DEP for review.
But
And if,
But the water itself on any given day is just on the ground and presumably soaking in, and if there's a significant amount of it running off somewhere.
well, it goes into settlement basins
Sediment.
before it goes off-site, yeah, so it's treated prior, and we have to, part of the industrial permit is implementing BMPs to treat stormwater before it leaves site.
And when you say goes off-site,
Mhm.
it's going off-site into the town stormwater basins? Is it going to a treatment? What is it doing?
Some of them go to stormwater basins, some of them go directly to Quinnipiac River, depending on where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually historically in the north, so the stormwater permit for the state is if you meet the requirements for testing periods in a row, you don't have to test for that sample anymore. We've averaged out every year at the North Quarry because it's been so clean. Just for reference in the past. DEP just renewed the new permit this past November.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
I have a follow-up on that, but it's more for us perhaps than
Okay.
specifically the individuals at Tilcon, which is, I have not seen, and I'm a newer member here, so I'll put it with that, but I have not seen our aquifer maps for the town. Do we have any concerns as far as what's going on with water reaching our aquifer from these business processes? We are officially the aquifer agency, although apparently we haven't met as one in a while.
Do you want to answer to that in terms of where the closest location is to the aquifer?
Yeah, we have it. I believe the wellhead is 140 feet, and the bottom of our quarry is well above that. So yeah, there's no communication between the bottom of our quarry and the aquifer.
I think what you're asking for is, are they in the aquifer protection zone?
Oh.
And the answer is no.
No, we are.
Yes.
We have an Aquifer Protection Act permit for that facility. And the DEP comes on site periodically and checks to make sure we adhere to it's called a materials management plan, which is part of the Aquifer Protection Act permit.
Any other commissioners have questions? Okay. And then we have we now have an environmental intervener that is present here or tonight or no? We don't have a record.
Just can identify herself.
I didn't know that I was environmental. I'm sorry. Yes, I am here.
Did you want to speak? You don't have to.
Pretty much everything was in our packet.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. It's just, we usually will allow the environmental intervener only to speak because that was where the petition was for the commission to be able to address us, as well as address the concerns that you had, both from a legal method, but also so that if there were any other concerns, you could come before us and interact, because usually it's not a public hearing and you don't have a space to speak.
Yeah.
And if you could just identify yourself, name and address for the record. You just hit that mic.
Georgia Bedell, 28 Pequot Road. I'm sorry, I was not prepared. I did a lot of research to put everything into there. I guess our biggest concern as a group is, you went over things like noise. We do hear it. So, I mean, you can say what you want, but it is our backyards. Things like the trucks, that is for when they're off-site. The water trucks are generally during blasting when they're creating most of the dust is outside of the quarry, not in the quarry. So the dust has already gone where it needs to go, and then you bring the water trucks in, which we have photos of that. Things like the aquifer, they are on top of the aquifer. That's our drinking water, that's your drinking water, that's everybody that's sitting up there. You know how Plainville water is already. It is just making it worse. The air, definitely, that's something that the town manager and the town attorney are working to get an environmentalist for us. But I would definitely raise those concerns. How can this be passed with still so many questions? They can't even answer exactly how early or how late that they're going to operate. They are saying things about the aquifer that aren't proven. I don't know how you guys can pass this without, better answers.
But the burden of proof now for what you're claiming is on you to prove it as an environmental intervener. And that's just the way that the law is. And so if you don't have
I don't have
specialists to prove it, sampling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't. This is, unfortunately, it's all your towns as well. This does not just affect people on Pequot or Metacomet. This does affect you. This affects your children, your future grandchildren. I'm not an environmental lawyer. I don't have, specific things, but you guys all live here. This isn't a, against the big bad guy. We want our town safe. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. Anything from you, John?
The only thing I have to add is, it's your prerogative to, since they appeared as the environmental intervener, not to be necessarily prepared to address the concerns of unreasonable risk or unreasonable, what is it, the term? Unreasonably polluting, impairing, or destroying the public trust of the state of Connecticut. You could essentially continue this to your February 10th meeting and give them an opportunity to address those particular, more specifically, those items that they feel are unreasonable.
When does the clock run out? When does the clock run out on this application?
I was granted an extension till February 10th meeting, so you're set in that regards.
Hey, John, to confirm, if we deny this request, they're still just going to use the equipment they're already using, right? Because that site plan was already approved with the mobile unit?
If you were to deny this request, yes, they have two options. One would be to continue with the equipment that they have and drop the case, or second would be that they would challenge your decision in Superior Court and say that you ruled in a manner that was inappropriate.
Can I ask a question? The Plainville residents at gmail.com has sent in a few emails, and we've acknowledged receipt of them. but we haven't, as a group, discussed any of the actual contents of what those emails say. So I have a couple of questions on, so in the January 12th email, they mention that there's a formal request for a determination regarding the lawful scope and intensity of quarry operations before the town.
The town attorney responded to that.
So that was my question. So the town attorney wrote an opinion.
Correct. Or, I mean, he responded, he provided a written statement to address that issue.
Okay. And is that something I have in a packet that I didn't see, or do we know what his response was? Paraphrasing, I won't hold you to that.
The response is that quarry operations within the quarry zone is an acceptable use.
Okay. So there isn't anything pending anymore as far as the town is concerned?
Correct.
Okay.
There is still pending. Sorry to interrupt, but there still
You
is.
can't speak. This
I know,
isn't-
but it's the
you
wrong
can't-
answer.
It doesn't matter, you can't
I
speak.
mean, the town attorney determined that quarrying in the quarry zone is an acceptable use. The Plainville residents may disagree with that particular opinion, and I think their reason for disagreeing with it has to do with intensity. And there's no language within the regulation that governs intensity.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions, Tom?
I guess my other question was in regards to the town attorney's email, I believe to you, John, regarding in response to the intervenor status. He makes a comment that since this is an application to add dust controls and not to increase activity, I do not see how environmental impacts are possible. This is not an application to simply add dust controls.
No, I think what he was trying to get at is the equipment that's being proposed has better dust controls than what's out there today. And I don't know if you're reading the words differently than I am.
It's certainly an application to increase activity, is it not?
Correct.
They will. So that's my concern. Is what he says is this is an application to add dust controls and not to increase activity. It is to increase activity. It's the whole. I shouldn't say the whole point, but it's, I imagine for the company, a significant point of why they would like to go from temporary to permanent equipment is they'd like to be able to mine.
Well,
But that's why we have annual quarry reviews, because we determine at that point, we're educated on what the plans are for harvesting and processing,
Mhm.
based on how many tons a year are
Yes.
proposed and what was done the year before. And
I
so we are in the loop as to what is happening with that annually.
I understand that. My concern is that if he's saying he doesn't see how environmental impacts are possible predicated on those two statements and those aren't accurate, then I don't understand how I could agree with the assessment. He might still be right, don't get me wrong, but if it's because of this and because they're saying doing this and not this, there's no environmental impacts, but they are doing that second thing, then I don't understand how I can necessarily trust the conclusion.
Because the environmental impacts are regulated by other bodies very specifically, and if those regulating bodies are going to continue to regulate, they're still going to have to meet the standards for how a quarry operates. We already were provided with the increase in tons that were going to be
Yes.
mined previously from the annual quarry review.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that there's going to be an increase. There usually is an increase,
I'm not
but
surprised.
in the projections, but most of the time, there's less that's actually mined than what's projected. But simply replacing the existing equipment that's temporary equipment with permanent equipment, even though it's just a swap, it's a one for one in terms of the equipment. However, the efficiency and the increased dust control measures, et cetera, are better than what's in the temporary that's there right now.
In theory, they could, operate the maximum amount of hours that is allowed and possibly meet sustained production levels.
Mhm.
And, what they're doing is putting in newer equipment that may or may not operate the same number of hours or more hours, but has better controls on dust, and it's probably most likely less noisy because of the difference of the materials that were being implemented. As Jennifer said, the standards are the standards. Intensity doesn't come into play with standards. In other words, if you have so many particles per whatever of fugitive dust, you either are above that number or below that number. It doesn't matter how many tons of processed material you're producing.
I'll leave it at this, which is, in my opinion, we should postpone until the February meeting to give the intervener the opportunity to provide the information we are asking of her. Simply that she does not have it this evening is not to me, given we have the time, is not to me a reason to dismiss the concerns out of hand. And so, in my opinion, we should delay any vote until that February 10th
It's February 10th.
meeting.
Any other commissioners have any comment? Or what are your thoughts on delaying?
I have no problem getting more information, but, you know, one other thing about the intensity and how many tons they're getting each year, Mr. Costello's predecessor, Frank Lane, or Frank somebody, told us every year that this quarry is gonna be active, you know, once we're done on the other side. And, you know, they've been telling us for years that they were gonna activate this quarry and that they were gonna get a lot more tonnage out of it. So it's you know, it's not something out of the blue.
Just use the microphone.
Any other questions? Anything else, Mr. Casella?
No, but I just wanted to say that our intention is, whether we're going to run portables or we get the new equipment, our intention is to increase production. I want to make that clear.
Thank you. Okay, so would someone like to make a motion either to table it, if that's your pleasure, or however you'd like to proceed in acting or not acting?
Madam Chairwoman, I would move to table this item until the February 10th meeting. We have the time to do it.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
You got it at 4 o'clock.
All right, moving on, we have item number 4, new business. Item number 1, PZ01/26, number 3, site plan 105 West Main LLC, 105 and 111 West Main Street, proposed mixed-use development, medical office, 7,120 square feet, 14 one-bedroom residential units, 6 two-bedroom units, central commercial zone.
I just received the comments during the process of updating the maps. I would suggest that, there's a typo, it should be a February 10th meeting, that we take this matter up at that time.
Okay. Someone,
You've seen through the process of the zone change, you're familiar with the project.
Yep.
So it should be, they're complying with what they showed you, or proposing to build what they showed you during the zone change. You should be pretty familiar with the project, and you should be able to address whatever questions you may have to that work side.
John, could you turn your mic on? They're having a hard time hearing you.
Thought it was on.
Okay. So would someone like to motion to table this item until the February 10th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Is that White Oak?
No, that's Carrier,
Okay. So it's down farther.
down farther.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
We have bills and communications, which we already addressed. We had the email from the Plainville residents for the site plan Tilcon 0 Loon Lake Road, 475 New Britain Avenue, dated January 21st, 2026. Moving on to item number 6, the minutes from the January 13th, 2026 meeting. Did we get those, John?
Weren't they included in the,
I didn't see them.
all right, well then, I thought they were put in there.
I
They were in
didn't.
my package to go out, but there must have been a mix-up.
All right, so then we'll have to wait till next time for the
Just
minutes.
remember.
Okay, and then planners report.
The only thing I have to report is that the developer of the Regan, which is the project at the corner of Cleveland Memorial Drive and Farmington Avenue, they're wondering if you would reconsider the installation of sidewalk along Farmington Avenue. It's a requirement that you placed as part of the approval, that there's be, I guess, sidewalk along Cleveland Memorial and then turning and going southerly along Farmington Avenue. They believe that it's not warranted on Farmington Avenue because it doesn't connect to an existing sidewalk.
I think they should stay, because they'll never connect anything if we don't start someplace.
I think that was what our discussion was when they were before us.
Okay, so the answer is, you're not.
Proceed with the sidewalk.
Proceed with sidewalk. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Does anybody have anything for John? No. Okay, moving on to item number 8. We were gonna do a little workshop session with the review of the POCD info. I wanna get these maps out of the way first. Can I leave this here with you, John?
Yeah,
Rather than carting it around?
yeah, just, here, I'll just come up and grab it if you want.
Yes, it's too much to carry. All right. So,
Just pass it over.
here you go, John. Just remember it's mine. Please, thank you. All right, so. Let's see where we're gonna start here. Where did I screenshot that? I don't do well with emails, just so you know. If we get emails, it's so much easier for me to have it in paper form because I'm on my phone the majority of the time, and having to create folders on this for so many things going back and forth is just so hard. Okay. So looking at the memorandum summarizing the actions from the POCD subcommittee and town staff. So there were a couple of errors. So first item is the cover page. There needs to be a revision date. So that we need. And that's going to be the most recent one. Do we know if that's a January date? Isn't that, John?
That will be a January date.
I don't
Maybe
know,
January 14th, I believe, is the correct date for the
of 2025.
25. And we did review some of these at the last meeting.
Yeah, I just want to run through them quick just because there's, in looking closer to this, it's not just a flip to page 63. We have to talk about the content.
Correct.
And so the next page was, we talked about the purple text
Yep.
instead of the red with the strike through or whatever, or underline. So that has to get fixed. So page 54. So page 54 in the original, unrevised, this is the original 2019 version, is relating to enhancing and guiding economic opportunities, because that's in that section talking about the Northeast Quadrant. So the page that was online is not actually 54, which has 54 on it. It's actually the verbiage and the updated map for page 63. However, my question becomes, the information that was added in for the December 2024 amendment, I question where in item number 1 is quarry reopened by owners truncating proposed open space low density residential. I guess I don't see that we need that quarry reopened in there.
That was, I think that was something that wasn't originally, no. It was included in what you voted on, or what was presented to you during your public hearing, and then ultimately the motion to accept what was originally put together.
Right.
Or page 63. Understand, when I went through all of this information, including your minutes, I came to the conclusion that you really didn't discuss anything in chapter 9. Everything that you discussed was in chapter 10.
So it was relevant to page 63, not 54. So that's why my question is just to make sure that we're making sure what is in these revisions is on the correct page.
Correct.
I don't want to just say, I want to make sure there was nothing flip-flopped.
The point that we need to do is we need to put back the original 54 in the revised document.
Correct.
And then move on to page 63 and put 60, and then make sure that the words that are actually on 63, the illustrations,
Correct.
whatever else is on page 63 is what you actually voted on.
Yeah, that's what, and that was my question, making sure going back, looking at what's in what based on the chapter that it's in.
Just a comment in looking at, and I apologize, this will get a little confusing probably, but in looking at original 54 and original 63, and you look at the illustrations that are there, and then you look at new 54, which actually should be 63. Apologize. So I assume the reason for the comment, quarry reopened by owners truncating proposed open spaces, the illustration changes and the very low density residential space is smaller in the new illustration on 54 than the equivalent illustration was on 63. It also means then that the original illustration on original 54 has a reduced quarry industrial zone, which no longer exists and is also shown in 63 in the original document, which no longer exists in the new document. This is the illustration. This illustration got changed, whether it was intentional or not. It doesn't. The illustration is different significantly.
So here's, I guess, what everybody is. There's some confusion. The highlights are not the zone. the highlights are, that's the suggested area for reduced quarry industrial zone.
Yes.
It's a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an actual delineation.
Okay.
So that was one of the recommendations in here, was for item 3 on page 54, consider reducing the quarry industrial zone to the area which has been quarried except as may be needed for implementing an appropriate quarry closure plan. Well, the quarry was reopened, so that item number 3 isn't going to happen.
I understand.
So it's there as a proposal, just like this small chunk of the quarry was there as a hypothetic proposal, so it can stay,
So
but
that,
it's just not going to be fulfilled.
so then in the new document, whatever page 54 should be, 63,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it is erroneous to say recommended approach 2019 because those first 9 bullets are not the same as what's in the 2019 document. Number 3 is different.
So look at page 63 and in this 54 that we have. That's
Yeah,
the wrong.
okay.
That's the wrong. Those should be the same.
Okay.
And that's been the issue. The only thing added is on the bottom where it says recommended approach 2024 amendment. That's on the revised, the wrong page 54. That's the page
Yep.
63. So these amendments, and then if you look, you see development constraints on the right side. Then there's December 2024 amendment. There's 2 other boxes over to the far right.
Yep.
Those are going to be going along if we determine we have to determine, are they talking about residential characteristics that are guiding and managing residential development? Because some of them, there is going to be residential development based on the PDD.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to discuss that as to, does it need to be on both pages, any of the information, or is it strictly enhancing and guiding economic development versus, residential development?
Okay.
That's my question as to why I wanted to have this little meeting. It's not just a flip.
Yep.
It's let's look at the content.
Well, from just so that you understand where I'm coming from, we're looking to make the current, what's published on our website, what actually should have been. So that means we're looking to put the old page 54 back into where it's supposed to be in the new version. So page 54 is now going to be the same page 54 as in the 2019.
Right.
But we're going to move where page 54 is to 63.
Correct.
Okay, and we're going to verify that everything that you voted on
Yeah.
is shown on that page 63.
Correct.
That's step 1.
But there also was errors.
And step 2 would be that you would review page 63 and 54 or any other pages that you want to review, and you would make corrections, as in changes, actually modifying it. And we would have to go through the process of redoing this, whether it goes through
Yeah.
region, it goes
Cog,
to
everything.
council,
Yeah.
you have a public hearing,
Right.
and move on. But the most immediate thing that staff would like to do would be to make sure that what's posted on the website is what you approved in January of '25.
But we have to determine if these additions of these amendments and what's in writing on this page 54, which should be 63, is supposed to be on
Yeah, and-
63. That's what I'm looking at
And
right now.
What you'd want to do is you'd want to go back into the minutes that I provided for the meeting on December 10th, 24. It has the information that you actually voted on.
But
And
But my concern, though, still stands as far as if we reinsert old page 54 as is, as was in the 2019 document, and add new 63, then we are putting in 2 different places in this PDD, or POCD, 2 illustrations of the same area with different lines
Yeah, but
and different
they're
explanations.
supposed to be.
I would agree with you that's the case, but the fact is that what you approved is what you approved. It might
Okay.
be, it might be wrong.
Okay.
It might be wrong in a sense, but it's what you approved.
Okay.
Now, you have an opportunity, if you choose to go in and correct whatever you want to correct.
Okay.
That could include the whole section. Maybe you want to rewrite the whole section because you're going to go through this process, or maybe you just want to change the illustrations or change the comments or whatever. But you're going to have to go through the process all over
Right.
again
Sure.
in order to do those moves. But what we're
The main
suggesting-
thing is put the pages in there for right now, because we have to move forward still right
And-
now in the meantime of doing
Yes.
the time sensitive.
Sure.
What was suggested to us through the town attorney was, these are errors, administrative errors that were made in the creation of the document. Not that you voted on the wrong things, it was creation of the document, and we took your vote and we tried to implement it into the plan.
So that's the other piece, as you were referencing, Tom, on the page 54 that needs to get moved to 63, is that map is different because it's reflective of the PDD. And that is what's going to be proposed in the PDD, and that's how they're breaking out what's going to go on that land. It's before you were with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's explaining that, because it looks like it's a totally different map, but it's depicting what's being written here on those side amendments, because it's referencing the PDD and how they're going to break it out into chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And the chunks are going to have different types of development in it, and that's what that's referencing. All right, so now if we look, proposed text for North Mountain Road. So he wanted that alternate not to be on page 54. We voted on it in the packet of page 63. So if you look at the verbiage, you look at the recommended approach, and you come all the way down, and you've got the two additions on there, 2024, the development constraints, then on the right-hand side, the 2024 amendment, the 2024 amendment on the bottom, and the map, the way that the map is, which is exactly on, and it's on page 17 of 24 in that packet. The way that that is, and it says proposed on the top of the page, is the way that it is listed on page 54. So the way we voted on it was those comments should all be on that page. That's what you saw.
So what we're looking for is concurrence, that we can reinsert 54 from the original document in 54 and move what 54 is shown on the webpage document to 63.
It's just, you look in the minutes, if in the packet, it's 63.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just
So
looking
it's-
for your concurrence so that we can make those corrections administratively. That's step one. If you choose to take step two and revise on page 63 and 54 or any other of the pages in those two sections based on some reconsideration of what you think you know now or what you know now in regards to what should be there rather than what's actually there, that's step two. And
We're gonna address these other issues too with the purple and changing it from red to
yeah,
purple.
I mean, yes, we agreed last time on all but really page 63 and 54. We pretty much agreed on, you thought that those were errors that could be corrected.
So page 55 though, hang on.
In page 55, if you look at the minutes, you'll see that Glenn was eliminated the historic preservation statement.
Are those in the next
That would
date?
be in January, the first
January.
meeting in January.
14th of 25? Sorry.
So they'll be near the end, I believe. They're gonna be on, page 20 of 30. Wait a second, I think it goes back farther than that. So on page 20 of 30, top of the page. Or middle of the page, it's in the
Including
middle.
proposed map with
Mr. Bossi,
noted
these
change.
other items that we're discussing right now, are these things that we can change tonight? These are not considered clerical errors.
Well,
This one is-
These are clerical errors, because there was a motion made that was somehow
It was
changed.
so
The
we have to
53
fix
and
it.
the 54.
No.
54 and 63 are, we consider a clerical error. Even the matter we're discussing right now, which is the motion in regards to the PDD that's related to 74 East Street, the motion, we believe the motion doesn't include anything related to historical preservation, which was included in the language that was actually published on the website, in that version.
Yeah, I led us down a different path, I'm sorry.
Motion to-
Which is
Well,
beyond the
no,
scope.
but I.
Yeah, so it doesn't say anything about, here we go.
Yeah, we're,
POCD amendment. So this is that one here. Where's the motion on that one? So the topic of the historic preservation.
The motion was actually, I believe, it's gonna be found in,
That's what I'm looking for, because it's on item 2, the POCD amendment, that's for the planned development district at 74 East Street, where there's discussion. We continued it.
yeah,
So then that would be in the minutes after that. So it would be the end of January, like the 28th or something. It looks like the 28th.
and unfortunately, there's no language on what the motion really was, and,
no,
this was, based on, interpretation of the actual, listening to the tape. These are summary minutes, the person doing this,
Do we have the tape from the 28th of January?
it would be from the 14th of January.
it looks like the 28th is when.
No, because it
actually-
was continued. The motion for, it's not in that one where you're
Okay,
talking
yeah,
about on
yeah,
the,
you're right, you're right. I
So on
don't
page
have those-
21,
I
it was
don't have those.
continued.
I'll have to dig those up for you,
because we can't address that unless we have what that motion was.
yeah.
Did I specifically talk about the historical district in that motion? Do you remember?
From the discussion that we had in the subcommittee, they felt that you did not include the historical language in your motion.
My recollection is I left it out purposefully.
Okay, I mean, if that's,
That's my
I don't know if that's
recollection.
good enough for the rest of you.
So if you left it out purposely, then what are we debating?
I'm not
Which,
sure.
Just
Well,
striking that sentence.
Striking that sentence.
which one?
On
On page 55?
Yeah, it's the last underlined sentence.
Oh, historic preservation should be considered an integral part of any plans for the future. Okay, so then we need to strike that and remove that.
Okay, so it would appear, if you concur with the list, it would appear that staff is authorized to make the corrections on the document.
Right. And then I just want to look
I
at.
think we should let staff make those clerical corrections.
Second.
Everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And we can have a workshop, if you desire, at the next meeting or the meeting after that, to begin the process of step 2, if you choose to want to move on to step 2.
I would like that, because I want to clean this up, because this is,
Okay.
you know,
In general, the POCD, I've sat through maybe 2. I think we're kind of flawed on how we do it. And we should have workshops like this when we're doing them, instead of having our guy here. We always hire a consultant,
right.
and he does a lot of talking. And
And we don't have the dialogue, and it's like
Yeah, we-
throwing this info at us, and this is how we used to do it way back
Exactly.
when.
So I think it's the way we've done it in the past leads to some of this confusion, and I don't know if we'll fix it, but I think if we, what's the next POCD, 29?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
We should
we are-
change the process to some degree.
from a staff standpoint, so that you're aware, we are trying to convince the council to begin the appropriation of money in the upcoming fiscal year and jump the gun a little bit, so that we can start possibly sometime next year about this time, maybe a little sooner. And, you have to make the decision whether you like the format that it is in here, and that makes the dialogue with staff and the consultant a little bit easier, because you can go chapter by chapter, or if you want a new format or whatever. I mean, you might want to think about doing some research on how other towns put their format together, or maybe you direct staff to do something in that light. Because if you're desiring to have a conversation back and forth, you have to have a base to talk about it. Otherwise, you're relying on the consultant to give you a whole slew of information, and what he'll do is he'll give it to you, then he'll go back to the office and write what he thinks is what he heard, and then sometimes you probably press for time and you won't go back to that section for 6 months when you're trying to finalize a large section of the book or whatever. So I mean, put some thought into how you want to handle your POCD format.
We need almost like an informal workshop, and I know everything has to be out in the open, but
We can do it
need to
right
have
here
this
like we're
kind of
doing tonight.
talking instead of him talking at us and then, not picking on any town planners, but then they want a motion.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't always digest it all and figure it all out to keep the process moving, because we're always under the gun to keep the process moving.
Okay.
The way I see it.
I mean, it's your document. I mean, you should set the rules. Maybe you have a sit down in regards to an outline of how you want to handle the process, and this is, how we want to do it, and then maybe you work it for 3 or 4 months. If it's working, well, you stay with it. If it's not, well, you make some modifications and you go like that. I mean, this is your document. It's not mine. It's not the planner's document. It's, it is your document. And maybe sometimes the outside consultant, although they know all the ins and outs of planning, they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of Plainville and how planning impacts the future of Plainville. So I'll set up another 45 minutes set aside maybe for, do you want to do it on the 10th? Or is that
Sure,
too soon?
we don't have a ton of things on the agenda, yeah.
Okay, so there's not a lot, but we'll set aside, even if it's only half an hour, we can look at, I guess we're going to look at chapter 10. Is that what you want to look at?
Yes.
So you all got copies of chapter 10. I'll get you the copy. There are some information in there that's not really accurate, and there's some information there that's not practical.
Right.
If you give some thought, I mean, bottom line is that if the PDD of Tomaso's PDD were to move forward and be successful, it's unlikely that you're going to have high-density housing in the rest of that area. I mean, there's going to be far too much money invested to bring in infrastructure to support what he's going to do. And then the energy that it's going to create, that property owners are probably not going to settle for low density housing. They're going to want something similar, or something that complements what the PDD has been approved. Additionally, when Tilcon is done with their North Quarry, it fronts on a state highway. Chances are they're going to want the most, from a market standpoint, they're going to want to generate the most revenue they can. It's not going to be residential, at least low density. It's going to be commercial, like the rest of that area, or industrial, or if it is residential, it's probably going to be high density. So, I mean, some of the assumptions or some of the projections that are made there are not really practical, at least from my perspective.
You know, I think we are having more public input, which is awesome. I think televising us is great. You know, one of the ways we gather information about what the people of the town want is through surveys. But the problem in the past has been a lot of people respond. And so maybe when we send out our surveys, we'll have a lot more interactivity so that we can gather more information on the wishes of the townspeople and see how that looks in putting together our next plan of conservation and development. But, you know, we're volunteering. We still have open seats up here. Other commissions still have open seats. We need all the help. We put a lot of time and effort into this. We're doing it for you. Help us out, too.
Yeah, I don't feel we got a ton of input the last two POCDs, not even from other commissions.
Even the
Not
work
even from the town
sessions that
council either.
the consultant had that was opened up to different groups of people, there wasn't even a great attendance. And, you know, we need help with this. There's people that have different perspectives than what we have.
It was generally us. and the consultant.
So. All right, so do you need a formal motion for that? Or
If I
just,
can get some kind of concurrence that, you know, you authorize staff to make the revisions as,
Yes.
Yeah, but I thought we did that.
okay, then we're all set.
we concur.
We're all set. We're all set.
We all concur.
And I will
Right.
I will set aside half an hour, 45 minutes for the next meeting to
Start figuring out where
start
we're.
figuring out chapter 10.
Okay, sounds good. And then is there anything else for John? No word on a planner yet, correct?
I understand the manager's supposed to be meeting with somebody soon, and he's pretty, not, the manager is hoping that this individual is willing to change jobs.
You doing okay? Keeping your head above water, John?
Well, it's a challenge, but, you know,
I guess we keep reiterating if you need support.
I do have the ability to utilize a planning company to help us out. We've done that in the past with mixed results. It's difficult for somebody to step in and pull back and step in, and so we'll see how it goes. My challenges are there's not enough hours in the day to to do my job and to try to get to satisfy what I need to do here. You know, if we get through, we get through this particular item relatively quickly, and we get through the Tilcon item in the near future, I'll cross my fingers and hope that there won't be any applications that require a lot of time. The Tilcon application requires a lot of my time. There's a lot of interaction between myself and the town attorney and this resident group. They've sent, you can see that I get an email once a week or so from them, and I have to spend some time, you know, looking at the email, researching it, and try to get some answers, at least so that I can somewhat talk educationally to you that, you know, I know what's going on. But we'll see.
Anybody else have anything for John? If not, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.